Poland calls for a UN Security Council meeting on Thursday following Russia's Wednesday drone incursion.
Russian attacks on Ukraine continued overnight into Thursday, targeting several positions across the Sumy and Donbas regions.
Rome's mayor Roberto Gualtieri wants to make the Tyber River swimmable by 2030. Poland calls for a UN Security Council meeting following Russia's drone incursion, according to officials on Thursday. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk thanked soldiers and allies for repelling the Russian drone attack during a visit to the Lask airbase. Overnight on Wednesday, multiple drones were shot down over Poland's airspace during a Russian attack on Ukraine. As a result of the attack, a house in the village of Wiliki near the Belarus border was damaged by debris. In an address to Poland's parliament, Tusk stressed that this was no mistake and that the drones flew directly from Belarus, accusations which Russia has rejected. In a rare show of solidarity, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban said they stand in solidarity with Poland. But Polish Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski demanded that Hungary condemn the Russian aggression. German Chancellor Merz stressed the state of NATO's air defense, saying the drone incident highlighted the urgent need to reform the alliance's defenses in Europe. So what is the general interpretation from NATO about this attack?
Well, there is a strong consensus that this is a very deliberate strategy by Putin to bait Europe and to test NATO unity amid a strained transatlantic alliance. Experts from NATO that I've spoken to say that if there isn't strong condemnation by Donald Trump, such as sanctions against Russia or progress on security guarantees, then Poland and Europe will look like they're out in the cold.
Russian attacks continued overnight into Thursday, targeting various positions across several cities and regions. Ukraine's Air Force says the Kremlin fired a barrage of dozens of missiles and drones targeting civilian sites and residential areas. An attack on an educational institution in the northern Sumy region damaged the main building as well as several workshops and vehicles. The shockwave from the blast caused windows to blow out in at least 3 nearby residential buildings. Elsewhere in Sumy, an attack on the Myropolya settlement injured several people after Russian rockets struck the area. A separate attack in the nearby settlement of Krasnopolya also injured at least 1 person. Meanwhile, Ukraine says it has successfully attacked a Russian ship in the Black Sea. The ship, valued at 51 million euros, is part of the Kremlin's infamous Black Sea fleet of warships and aircraft carriers. Officials say a Ukrainian-produced drone struck and damaged the ship's navigation and communication systems. Ukraine's intelligence service says the ship was carrying out intelligence and patrolling missions at the time of the strike.
US President Donald Trump has promised to crack down on what he called rhetoric of the radical left after conservative activist Charlie Kirk was shot. Kirk was murdered as he spoke at an event on a college campus in Utah. The event was part of his America Comeback Tour, in which Kirk toured the states giving speeches and hosting debate circles. The attack was reportedly targeted, police said, and has prompted an outpouring of condemnation from across the American political spectrum.
On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now.
Kirk was a prominent activist and media personality, known for co-founding the non-profit Turning Point USA when he was only 18. The group is widely credited with giving a platform to young Americans with conservative ideals. The organization and its funding grew steadily over the years. Kirk enthusiastically backed Trump during his first presidential campaign in 2016. Kirk was praised for mobilizing the youth vote during Trump's third election campaign in 2024, where he encouraged new young voters to register. Supporters said Kirk showed people genuine decency and respect, even when disagreeing with others' ideas.
At least 72 Palestinians have been killed and 356 injured in Israeli attacks in the past 24 hours, according to Gaza health officials. The famine has now caused a total of 7 deaths in the past day. 7 victims were also killed by the Israeli army while waiting for food near distribution points run by the army and overseen by the US company GHF. Israel intensifies its operations on Gaza City, targeting Hamas infrastructure as Palestinians continue to leave Gaza City, struggling to transport their belongings after facing another Israeli evacuation order. Many, however, refuse to leave due to the lack of funds and shelter in the south. Israel released footage claiming to show troops moving in the Gaza Strip. The military said in a press release that its troops had completed their operations in Khan Yunis and they have dismantled tunnel routes. Rome's Tyber River swimmable by 2030, according to the capital's mayor Roberto Gualtieri. Speaking from the World Expo 2025 in Osaka, it is a highly achievable goal. Gualtieri said that he had already involved Environment Minister Pichetto Fratin and the heads of the Lazio region in a feasibility and cost study. He added that the cost would be lower than what Paris spent to make the Seine swimmable, as it is not as polluted. The mayor clarified that some areas of the Tyber would already be swimmable, adding that the Metropolitan City Police are inspecting all points where wastewater is discharged into the Anion River. Last July, the Seine River became swimmable again for the first time since 1923 at a cost over 1.4 billion euros.
This 90-year-old modernist building in Brussels, which once housed the Citroën garage and car showroom, is being renovated to become the Belgian's capital's first museum of contemporary and modern art, scheduled to open in November 2026. After the federal government refused to make available its collection from that period, the Canal Foundation turned to international partners, eventually signing a 5-year contract with France's Pompidou Center.
Depuis 2018, la Fondation Canal, que je dirige, crée une collection publique d'art contemporain ici à Bruxelles, qui n'existait pas jusqu'à aujourd'hui. Mais on s'est dit, pour pouvoir lancer ce projet, il serait bien d'avoir un partenaire international, pas belgo-belge, parce que ça n'a pas marché avec le Musée royal des Beaux-Arts. Et donc, après de multiples contacts et rencontres et de multiples discussions, c'est avec le Centre Pompidou que nous avons décidé de faire ce partenariat.
As well as showing works from the Parisian institution along with its own collection, the museum aims to be an arts and cultural hub and stage music, dance and theatre performances. But there is also the so-called external project to promote social cohesion in nearby neighborhoods with considerable socio-cultural diversity and pockets of poverty.
C'est pas simplement créer un lieu et ouvrir les portes et dire venez, c'est aussi tout un travail que les équipes mènent depuis maintenant plus de 8 ans, de travail dans les écoles, dans les associations de quartier, au contact des jeunes, des communautés autour de nous, à Molenbeek, à Laken, dans le quartier nord, pour répondre aux besoins, mais aussi pour co-créer ou co-construire des projets, artistiques ou pas.
Half of the 40,000 square meter facility was set aside for people to enjoy amenities, ranging from restaurants, a children's playground and a library.
In the first quarter of 2026, the cultural program will be unveiled. Around 120 years of cultural creation will be made available in the exhibition area, and many more activities will be disclosed. Isabel Marques da Silva, Euronews, Brussels.
Is the EU about to start scanning your text messages? For years, claims have been circulating that the European Union wants to enable governments and private companies to read people's text messages as part of a planned law clamp down on online child sexual abuse. Recently, these claims have intensified, with users alleging the bloc will scan all encrypted messages, even as they're being typed, making users fear for their privacy. It's often referred to as chat control. But the idea that Europeans have to brace themselves for the immediate end of private messaging is misleading. The possibility of scanning private messages is part of this planned new law on child sexual abuse, and it is indeed being considered. But the Commission is proposing specific and limited detection orders. While there are legitimate concerns that this could spell the end of digital privacy as we know it, proponents insist that detection orders do not apply by default to everyone and would be limited in time and scope. They would also have to be requested by a national authority and then approved by a court or an independent authority. Secondly, the Commission's proposal is only the starting point. For the law to pass, the European Parliament and the Council of the EU both need to agree on exactly the same text, which has not happened yet. In fact, the Parliament has already voted for changes that go against broad scanning, especially for encrypted apps. And the Council is itself split. A majority of countries like France, Spain and Italy are in favour of strong scanning rules, while Austria, the Netherlands and Poland have said they will not accept them. Others, including Germany and Belgium, remain undecided. Because of this division, several planned votes have been delayed. A new one is now scheduled on the 12th of September, so there is a legitimate debate about whether this proposed law can tread the line between safeguarding children on one hand and ensuring online privacy on the other. But panic that the EU is about to immediately scan messages even before they're being sent is still premature.